Is the market going down, Zach? Is the market going up? Is there still too much inventory? What's really happening?
Today, I'm here with Zack from Phipps Brittain, and we are talking about some really exciting differences between the Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge markets.
Think about where you fit into the market. Waterloo, this is the average sale price for single family homes in Waterloo, 927. It's most expensive. Kitchener in the middle, and then Cambridge. Waterloo. There's only 178 single family homes on the market right now. So if you're
Wow,
looking for a single family home, like freehold single family home, there's only 178 to choose from across all types, like everything
that's
in the entire
crazy.
city for multi units. There's only, 15 sales for 6 units plus in the last 6 months. So let's call it
That's
two a month
crazy. Yeah.
are actually selling. What's even crazier though is the amount of activity we're seeing for 20 plus units is tense. Like considering how cool the residential market is.
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, your host. Today, I'm here with Zack from Phipps Brittain, and we are talking about some really exciting differences between the Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge markets. We look at various segments inside that market, compare all of the different multifamily price per door in those various segments. And we also talk about some interesting stuff coming up the pipeline for Ontario when it comes to new housing and building. So really excited to jump into this one with Zack. And if you don't stay till the end, I really think you should. But if you don't stay till the end, Zack's got some really interesting stuff that we're going to walk through in the future as well. So make sure you stick around for that news. Zack, welcome back to the channel.
Thanks for having me, Adam. I'm excited to jump on today. We have a very typical lull in the market, kind of end of August into September. Now we're recording first, second week of October. Things are really starting to kind of pick back up. So nice to kind of like get back into the fire. But a lot of personal stuff to catch up on, a lot of personal projects and real estate projects to catch up on and share with you guys. And some cool projects that we're going to be sharing and doing site visits on coming up. So we'll talk about that and more. But more importantly, the Chicago Blackhawks just coming off an absolute thrashing of an old division rival, and the Blue Jays are still alive in the playoffs. Sports are actually interesting right now. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not a big football guy, but hockey's back and baseball's getting hot. So I'm pretty pumped about that. We'll see how the Jays do tonight. Start this though for the real estate business. By the time this is released, the info probably would have been out for about a week, maybe two. The Build Canada Homes, basically the new housing minister they actually did the announcement here in Kitchener, releasing basically their new platform to build more properties for the missing middle, affordable support housing, transition housing, all that jazz. Now, I did some Googling and some researching and some reading, and it's actually really hard to find good data on this. So I don't really have a strong enough opinion on one day's notice from when they release this to this video. But by the time this comes out, more information will be readily available. And I think the initial ideas will have percolated with end users, builders, developers, real estate investors, politically interested individuals that watch the YouTube channel here. So if you guys have comments on your initial opinions on this, hit me up in the comments below. We will be discussing this in the next video if we aren't going to be shooting an on-site video on one of our projects, because I am really interested in basically what I've gathered from the limited information is 13 billies to build 30,000 properties or 30,000 units. That's about, and I just like just quick math that's $433,000 per unit. And so my initial reaction was like, I think we can build them cheaper, but I also think not all that is going straight to just like construction costs that could be doing towards, lending for programs for people to actually build them. This isn't like the government paying the contractors that are going to build the properties, 433,000 per unit. There's probably also a lot of renovations and additions to existing programs, payment for services associated with housing, whether that's like assisted living, staff, whatever. Again, there's just not enough information on this out right now. So I'm curious if more information comes out or becomes more clear in the coming weeks. And when they announce the budget in November, a month from now, we'll have more clarity. So you guys are watching this video and some more information's out, or you have an initial opinion, drop a comment on that. I'm very curious what other investors here in Ontario, especially in my market, are thinking about this. And I'm curious to see how many, dollars are actually going to come to building affordable housing in my
Yeah.
market, because that will influence what builders, investors, homeowners, and renters are going to be doing. So
I mean,
very curious
the
to see how that
initial
rolls out.
release, yeah, and the initial release has like I think 4,000 homes slated in like the first kind of tranche. So
Yeah.
4,000 is both a very large number and a very small number, depending on the um, scope of where they're going to implement that. Like if that's all in one city, that's like a very large number. But if
Significant.
if
Absolutely.
that's spread across all of Canada, that's a very different story, I would say, for the
It's a
Kitchener
drop in the
Waterloo
bucket. And you know what, Adam, on
market.
that note, one thing I did remember they will be investing heavily in is basically automation and manufacturing. So they're
Right.
really going to be dropping it. I would assume a huge chunk of that 13 billion is going to subsidize building factories to go build prefab parts for homes. And they've also released their standard design list, which I assume would be conducive of prefabricated materials to build these pre-designed. Anyway, for the purpose of this video, I would appreciate people's opinions, thoughts, and concerns. But we'll jump into the investor hot list. We got golf, we got upcoming site tours. We're going to talk about what's selling, what's not selling from single family homes, and then touch on the multis. And then we're just going to do a bunch of quick data hits at the end for people that are considering being active in the market. Now, data points just at 1 month for one type of property is like a good starting point for most people, but I cannot tell you how thankful I am that 99% of my clients are actually like thinking ahead, looking at data, considering broad trends and their personal situation and goals like really critically, and then making educated decisions. Most of my clients come to me because they want to learn what a good deal is, how to find a good deal, and how to execute on a good deal. Most of my clients are like that. Every now and then I get a client that knows exactly what they want. They just say, Zach, just go get this, or Zach, just go do this. But overwhelming majority of you people that are coming to work with me and Matt are like wanting to learn how to actually do it. And so the data at the end of this, I think, will be really important for those of you that think similarly. But for our hot list, if you're interested in Waterloo Region real estate, if you're interested in what Zach, Brittain, and Matt Phipps are doing, if you're interested in real estate data, on market deals, off market deals, our events, go to our investor hot list right now or send me an email, zach@phipsbrittain.com. The reason why this is even more and more important, Adam, is two things. First, golf. Okay. I golf now, dude. Apparently, I'm a golfer. Okay. And for those of you that are like, oh, cool, golfing's fun. Listen, I almost shot under 100 one time this year. And for
Whoa, let's
me,
go.
that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. I dropped 20 strokes off my round this year. I've golfed 15 times. So we're going to start doing regular golfing with our clients, our vendors, people that want to chat us up about real estate or want to talk to us about building or investing, whatever it might be. I'm volunteering Matt Phipps because he has a membership at Whistlebear and they have golf simulators there now. We tested them out last season. They're awesome. There's only 4 of them. They're private. We're going to book them in. If you guys want to go hit the golf sim now that winter's kind of, peeking its head out in the next couple months, get on the investor hot list. We'll be sending out invites for our golf list then. And then by the spring, we'll be booking people in to come shoot 9 or come shoot 18 with us. Come get around in, have a good time. Let's chat up some business. And more importantly, no, I shouldn't say more importantly, second to golf, because golf is now taking over my personal life. It's yeah, I got the bug. Site tours. Oh, Adam, we are building some new rental properties here in Kitchener. Let's go. We got a semi triplex, so 6 units that just broke ground this week. We have a property that's slated for a purpose built 10plex, literally 5 seconds down the way from my house here in downtown Kitchener. We'll be smashing that down soon and we'll be starting that build next year. We'll be doing site tours on those properties throughout the winter and into the spring and summer next year. We'll send invites on our social media, but our investor hot list will get first dibs. It is limited in terms of how many people we can get through at any given time because it is a job site. But if you are interested in building, whether it's an addition on your house, renovating your basement into a rental unit, you want to build rental housing, you want to know more about the numbers and the construction side of things, or just how to design a good rental unit and what they actually look like and how they're built here in your local market, like this is an open book here. This is your chance to walk a site, meet the contractors, meet us, talk about how we're putting the whole thing together, how you finance it, what the exit looks like, the decision-making process behind why we're doing everything. We're really excited about those projects, and we will be sharing numbers as we get a little bit closer and finish those up. But if you want to see them as we're building, investor hot list. That's the shameless promotion.
I love
That's a
it,
shameless
man.
promotion, right? That is how you guys can stay connected with me. But for the purpose of the video today, is the market going down, Zach? Is the market going up? Is there still too much inventory? What's really happening? I think I like to put it in Zach terms. And I'm a pretty simple individual. I don't want to overcomplicate things, but the details do matter when you're considering what's really going on in our local real estate market, Adam. What's not selling, I think, is a really important thing to look at because that can maybe make the what is working more obvious for people that kind of brains think like that. And I kind of put a little quote down there. It's my buyers liked it, but is the amount of times I've gotten feedback on my listings from other agents and buyers that are saying stuff like that, it's just a polite way to say, hey, I think I can find a better deal somewhere else. So we don't hate anything about your property, but I just think I can get a better deal somewhere else. Or I think it's going to be
Yeah.
too hard to get a good deal for your property for where you're at right now. So we're not going to waste our time. We're going to go look at something else. So listen, if you own a rental property or your primary residence and you're thinking about selling it, like buyers have choices.
Yeah.
They have choices. So when they have choices, they're going to be picky and they are going to use that to your advantage. And they're going to give you feedback like my buyers liked it, but they're not sure about the layout or they don't like the flooring. Listen, that's fine. I appreciate all the feedback I get, but what they're really saying is I can get a better deal somewhere else. And so just like the really quick reminders, guys, is it doesn't matter how well your home is priced. If it's not clean, it's not selling. If your media sucks, it's going to be really hard to sell it unless the price is so insanely cheap that people can't say no. If you're in a busier location and you're not adjusting your sales price expectations for how busy that location is, you're not going to sell. And straight up, if you're overpriced for any reason at any time in your listing, you're not even going to get showings, let alone getting any people to bring you offers. The distinction between like fairly priced and overpriced listings is like ever so slight because our market is changing so much, kind of month to month, every 2 months, that if you overprice it, you risk like legitimately not even being able to sell it, let alone being able to sell it at a lower price than you originally expected. So just being overly critical and being like super attentive to the details isn't just important, it's like critical to even selling it at all, whether it's a single family home or a 20 unit apartment building. Okay. So that's what's not selling is like the stuff that's not clean, the stuff that's not priced appropriately. And the reality is like the so what? If you're active in the market and you're a buyer, you need to let the offers fly. Adam has been screaming this to human beings since he's gotten in the business. I don't have to convince him, but for those of you that are you know, maybe thinking, hey, interest rates came down a couple weeks ago. Maybe I'll start looking at some deals heading into the winter. Maybe I'll find some motivated sellers. You're absolutely right. But not every seller that is on the market is realistic and motivated. Very few actually are, right? Probably about 25% of the market right now is actually the combination of both realistic and motivated. Those are the ones that you really need to target. And when I say let the offers fly, I mean your expectations need to match your offer. If you're throwing in just blanket offering on the type of property, 25 under asking, 25% under asking price, you shouldn't really expect to get too many hits, right? But when you do get a hit, you found somebody motivated and you need to really understand and work that scenario and understand how you can position your follow-up offer or your follow-up negotiation to actually get something accepted. And the second point here, and this one's I would love to get your opinion on this, Adam, is the motivated sellers, you find the motivated sellers, those ones are starting to relinquish properties at lower price points now than they did previously this year and the comp the market down will happen in the next 6 months. So people that have listed their properties in the summer and now in the fall and have started to sell them in the fall and in the winter, those sale prices are the same or lower than what they were in the spring, which means people who are listing and selling their homes in the winter or in the spring next year are using the comparable sales from now in the winter to adjust their selling expectations. So if you're seeing prices, comparable sales slow down a little bit in terms of coming down in price, the expectation is the average sale price will come down as well, and sellers' expectations may adjust. Now, when we say comp the market down, typically how long does that take, Adam, for like sales that are happening now to be reflected in a market?
Yeah, it takes a minute, guys, for like price can adjust very quickly, but sellers' expectations adjust much slower than the actual reality.
Pause right there. rewind 10 seconds and listen to that again because it's like prices may adjust, but sellers' expectations may not. And that process, we've gone through that the last year and a half, 2 years, and we're going to continue to go through that as buyers sit on the sidelines and be really, really picky. Now, the last part of the segment, though, Adam, is every detail matters or price accordingly. If you
Yeah.
want 10 out of 10 price, relatively quick sale, then everything needs to be actually perfect. I'm not saying like, oh, it's pretty good. No, no, everything needs to be perfect. If you are not capable of, or the property does not allow everything to be perfect, that's okay. That's actually a more common scenario than everything being perfect. Because if everything's perfect, that property's selling. A plus, perfect stuff, good locations, rare features, that stuff's still selling really well. Everything else, it's kind of sitting unless it's priced accordingly. Things that are priced attractively are getting action at any
Yeah.
price point in any type of property. If your price is attractive, and what I mean by that is probably lower than what you would expect to sell it for earlier this year, that's getting action too. It's people who have a very slight or very big difference in expectation and the reality of the market. And so, I mean, that's why people watch these videos like this. This is why you do your market research and you look at data. And this is why you do your homework. I mean, last video, we even talked about doing recon. Guys, I go view the competition. I view like a lot of properties. I'm active in the market for myself and for clients. But like you would not believe how many clients have actually started taking me up on my advice in the last couple months, saying, hey, like if you don't need to move right now, that's fine. But like go view a bunch of properties with me because you'll know when you walk into a good deal and a bad deal. Even if you're looking for something, say 450 to 500K, there's over 200 nice properties on the market in that price point right now. Condos, stack towns, stuff like that. Of those 200 properties, probably 10, 15 of them are actually like really good deals.
Yep.
10, maybe 20% of everything available is actually like a really good deal. And you don't know that until you see them.
Yeah, and not just see them, but actually make the offer, right? And I think the biggest thing people are hesitant to do is just ask, right? Ask for the price that you want, ask for the conditions that you want. If you're on the buy side, there's no harm in saying, "Hey, I would love to get into this property, but there's three things that are highlighted for me right now. There are issues, and I would like to resolve them, but I need either a correction on price or a correction on terms." And again, I'm about to firm up an agreement today for a property where I offered 70, it's about $75,000 less Canadian, and they took it, right? And it was just because we had some great reasons, we had some great things that stood out as things that we needed corrected on that purchase price, and we asked. And I think that's literally 80% of the battle. The 20% is figuring out how to communicate that in a way that works for your seller. But that 80% is literally just making the offer and saying, "Hey, I would love to make this transaction happen. We're just
Just do it.
we're this far apart." Right. And that's a big difference between just walking in and saying, "I don't like it," or maybe we'll wait. Right. You have to make those offers.
Yeah. And it's funny as an agent, like I think the stereotype for the agent is like, oh, like you don't want to show a ton of homes. You don't want to put in a bunch of offers that are going to get rejected. But like, guys, like we're investors. Like that's my
Yeah.
expectation. Right? Yeah, it's going to be more work, but it's going to get you a better deal. And if it gets you a better deal, you're going to go do more deals with me, or you're going to refer me and my guys to work with you, or your friends and your family more. Like
Yep.
the 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 mindset of the people that we work with is very similar in that sense. So asking for that, yeah, you might get a bunch of no's, but if that increases your chances of getting a really sweet deal, isn't that the point? So
Yeah.
simple strategies of just taking more action on viewing more properties, throwing in more offers, asking more questions sounds like super simple, but like I've just started to notice the amount of people really start to take that advice and deploy it. And that's exciting for me as an agent working
Yes.
with clients to do that because like you're like, yes, the market is starting to show opportunity for you people and you might be taking advantage of it. That's exciting. That's exciting. So that's kind of the so what for your buyers out there and a couple nuggets for the sellers. For you sellers for like primary residence or maybe a small multi-unit or a single family investment property, duplex, maybe a triplex, like selling in the current market is not a cakewalk, right? So some of these sound like super obvious, but I cannot tell you how many stupid little things that have been brutal for homes that I've viewed, whether it's triplexes, sixplexes, 20 units, or single family homes for a million plus. You're just like, dude. And this is a silly one, but like we have seasons in Ontario, guys. In the winter, even now, it is dark by 7 p.m. Most of your showings are 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on evenings, and then your weekends. It's dark. Put your freaking lights on. I cannot tell you how much better it is to walk into a listing that's already lit up. Instead, I'm stumbling through a house I've never been in before, trying to flick on the right lights as I'm talking to my clients and looking at shit. It just doesn't show as well. It doesn't show as well, right? And then organize everything, even closets. Guys, if you want 10 out of 10 price, if you want 10 out of 10 sale experience, everything effing matters. If not, no problem. Adjust your expectations and your price accordingly. And clean everything and then do it again and then clean it again. And then stage it. Please, 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 please. Don't go selling something worth 800, 900, a million plus and not be willing to drop a few G's on staging to make it look amazing. That's like
Yeah.
selling your car and not cleaning it before the guy comes to go
Yeah.
test drive it. Like, what are we
Yeah.
talking about here? You're selling something worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like most people, you probably have a life and don't keep your house spotless 10 out of 10 every single day of your life. Well, when you go to sell it and you want a good price for it, you got to invest a little bit of time and money to bring it up to that standard. And I'm telling you right now, you will reap the benefits. Otherwise, you may not even be able to move it, right? And then another one here that just like really just comes down to service is this is a little bit more on agents out there that I would expect to do for my clients and some of my sellers take on because they're just kind of go-getters is create a showing experience. Like for example, a client of mine just purchased a home that had been in the same family for 3 generations. Grandma and grandpa built it. Grandma and grandpa built it. Parents bought it, lived in it, raised their kids. Parents then became a little bit too old to take care of it, so the kids sold the home for them. And the agent communicated that like, hey, listen, like we know the home's dated, we know it's worn, but like one family has owned this home for 55 years. They
Yeah.
built it. The grandma and grandpa sold it to the kids. Kids raised their grandkids in it. Now the grandkids are moved out of the town, so they can't take care of it. They're moving on from it. So yeah, we know it's dated. There's some, quirky little stuff, but like this was a very well loved home. Something silly like that sounds maybe silly to some people, but it gives you a comforting feeling that even though you're walking through something that's a little dated, gonna need a ton of work, like, oh, there was normal people that actually just raised their families in here and built it themselves. Like, that's kind of cool. And like, that's a silly thing. But if you're walking into a dark listing with no context that isn't cleaned, like, and the price isn't holy shit cheap, they're not bringing an offer. So do
Yeah.
your freaking job, do a little bit of work up front, and you will see the benefits. Like, a little note saying, "Hey, thanks so much for reviewing my home. We use the jacuzzi at the back corner. We just had it serviced. This is how you turn it on. We really love it in the winter. We put our towel rack here. If you guys don't like the hot tub, we usually, we got a nice little setup in the basement. Here's where you can plug in your projector, or here's where our kids have their little video game room if you got kids. Or we're cat people, so we have the big cat museum down at the back corner of the house where all the windows and the lights are. Just something to show people that you're a normal human and that the home serves a purpose other than just a transaction. And that human element, if you're selling a single family home, is super important. If you're selling a rental property, not as much, but having a good showing experience in a rental property is just the same thing about communication, more so between the tenants and the agents than just like the agents to the clients themselves. So just a little food for thought for any of you that are considering selling a property or have somebody on the market right now that's not working. Like, just think about it.
But that whole list was like less than $5,000 to accomplish, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. You
Because
can have a professional cleaner every week, have it staged for a month,
yeah,
and do some touch ups for 5 Gs or less, for sure.
absolutely. And just out of curiosity, there, I just put it into chat. What does an LED bulb cost per year? It's about $4, folks. And I despise coming into a dark listing. Like, what? Why
You're
would you
showing up
ever
at
turn
seven
the lights
o'clock at
on,
night. They got the kids in the
dude?
van. They get out of
Stop.
the van. They just finished work. They're tired. They're going out spending 700 grand on a nice new house, and they walk in and it's dark.
It's
Come on.
dark. Yeah, and in
You
the
don't
winter,
can't
run
find
the
the
damn heat.
lockbox.
Because I've done that. I've seen that too. Where in the winter, people just turn the heat low, and I'm like, "Are you
Yeah, they have it at
kidding
like
me?
15. They have it like
For like
15. Your
another
feet are
five
cold.
dollars, just run the heat. Come on, guys." But
Yeah.
yeah,
Or at least
fantastic
have
points here.
somebody
Thank
pop
you.
over and turn it on before they show up, for
God.
Christ's sake. Anyway,
Anyways,
we
that's
these
sad.
are these are reminders for you. Listen, like when we work with our clients, it's a pulse check on like how much are you taking on and how much am I taking on, so that it's like clear, like what the
Yeah.
game plan is. But again, that's us. So I want to do data for you guys to think about. Let's stick in like the residential single family homes, just so that viewers out there that are curious about the general pulse of the Waterloo region real estate market, this will be a little bit better for context. And then after, for you investors, I got stuff for you. Don't worry. Don't worry. So uh, think about where you fit into the market. Waterloo, this is the average sale price for single family homes in Waterloo, 927, it's most expensive. Kitchener in the middle, and then Cambridge. So the gap between Kitchener and Cambridge is actually going to continue to shrink, primarily because where they're building the bulk of the new properties in Cambridge is right by the 401, new detached homes, stacked townhouse, higher priced properties. So the average sale price for Cambridge will rise a little bit more rapidly than in Kitchener will, because Kitchener is also building on average way more condos than Cambridge. Okay. Now, let's just see. What do I got here next? Waterloo. While we get into Waterloo, let's just another friendly reminder that we have a couple past videos where we go through the geography of my region as well and the implications on real estate. So if you guys like have no idea about Waterloo region real estate, hit us in the comments or go back to some of the past videos. For this though, reminder, Waterloo is smaller than Kitchener. Kitchener is twice the size of Waterloo and twice the size of Kitchener, or Cambridge, sorry. So like the size of the Waterloo market is just smaller, period. Fewer homes, higher average sale price, further away from the 401. There's only 178 single family homes on the market right now. So if you're
Wow,
looking for a single family home, like freehold single family home, there's only 178 to choose from across all types, like everything
that's
in the entire
crazy.
city. Like that is not a ton.
That
So
that's none almost.
like that's not townhouses, that's not semis, that's not
Yeah,
condos. But still, detached home, like that's not a ton, right?
that's crazy.
Only 50 sold in the last month.
Yeah. Wow.
Like there's not a like it's not huge. So if you're going out being like, hey Zach, like I want to go buy I want detached homes, 750 or under, B plus or better location. Guys, there's probably only a handful on the market at any given time. And of that handful, maybe like 10-20% of them are actually going to be good deals. And then you got to be available on the days those come to market to go view them and offer on them quickly. So like let's just put into context what you're really trying to do as a buyer or a seller or an investor and taking a look at like the whole market you're looking at and what portion of the market in within that you're actually playing within can really give you perspective on how rare good opportunities actually are, even though there is way more inventory now than there has been in the past. For example, last year properties were selling in about 26 days. Now they're selling in 29. This is probably where closer to where we should be. Selling in under 2 weeks on average is freaking crazy. Also, you're 3.1 months of supply for the single family homes. So you've come up about 15% the amount of supply, right? The most interesting thing to me is the average price per square foot has come down to the same level that we saw in 2020. You are paying the same price per square foot as you were 5 years ago. Like, I like that as a buyer. I like that a lot as a buyer. And we talked about on the channel before, what we're going to start seeing is incentives. Resale properties, properties that we would list for clients of ours, their prices are going to either come down or they're going to offer more commissions. They're going to offer more incentives. They'll be more willing to negotiate terms instead of price. You're going to start to see a little bit more give to the buyers than you have in the past. So I'm excited for my clients that are looking to make a purchase for that. Now for Kitchener, for context, there's 410 single family homes, more than double, right? We're 17% more. We're seeing, amount of homes for sale and number of homes sold. They're raising in proportion. We're 16% more sales than last year to 144 sold. So 100 more sales in Kitchener, the city of Kitchener, in the last month than an entire city of Waterloo. So it is a much bigger market. There's more stuff there, period. Similar average days to sell, but much higher than last year, primarily because the amount of condos that have come to market in Kitchener over the last year is much higher percentage of our market than say in Waterloo or in Cambridge. Condos aren't selling as much, therefore the average days to sell coming down. 3 months supply, that's been pretty standard. We've been bouncing around that for the last little bit, but that's 20% more supply than we had last year. I think our month's supply will probably stay fairly similar to where it's at now. Again, that's something I'm watching pretty closely, but our spicy ratio, our list to sale price ratio, those are a little bit under 100% now. So on average, properties are selling less than asking price on average. On average. These are broad strokes here, ladies and gentlemen. But also, the average price per square foot, very similar to the same time in 2022, 406 per square foot. And I like sharing the average price per square foot. For you people that don't know anything about Waterloo region, you're looking at a bunch of different markets where you kind of want to get it just a really quick and dirty. The average price per square foot is just a quick calculation you can do on any property. And then you adjust for like how nice the finish is, how nice the location is, if they have any rare features. That you can rely on more research of yourself or a local realtor to kind of bridge that gap. But if you're just like straight up comparing what can I get for a nice 2 bedroom condo or a nice 3 bedroom, 1 car garage detached in this city versus that city, the price per square foot, good starting point for people that need just initial context, Adam. And Cambridge. Cambridge making a resurgence, ladies and gentlemen. Prices coming up a little bit. Your single family homes for sale, you have double what you have in Waterloo. You have less sales than last year, 6% less sales. Your average days on market, things are selling pretty much the same, but our month supply is bumped up 20%. Your average price per square foot in Cambridge is actually higher in Cambridge than it is in Kitchener
Jeez.
compared to 2022. That's probably because the majority of the sales that are happening in Cambridge, a larger percentage of sales are the new builds in Cambridge. Cambridge is a smaller market that's building a ton, and the new stuff is more expensive per square foot. And there's more of those that are actually selling compared to every other component of the market. Also, Cambridge has fewer condos. Condos have a higher price per square foot, yes, but their condos are typically older, higher condo fees. They're not going to sell as the highest price per square foot. So few components going into that data. Price per square foot, average price per square foot, good indicator for those of you that have no idea what's going on in our local market and need a starting point. But now, investors, most investors are homeowners as well. So I think that's good context for you guys and girls out there. Um, let's talk what's actually going on in and what's actually selling in Waterloo region real estate for multi-units. So this is only the MLS data. I think it's important to note before we get into the investor side of things, Adam, a lot of the investor deals are happening off market, especially larger ones. But like
Yeah.
I would say for things like 2 to 6 units or 2 to 12 units, the majority of that stuff's probably still happening on market in Waterloo region, but above the 6 units especially, I would say probably 50-50 if I had to put a random guess on it. If you're selling above 20 to 30 units, the I would say probably more than 50% of those are happening off market. Um, the big brokerages have large databases. Your real estate investment trusts, your big real estate funds. There's a ton of money going into acquiring properties and doing that privately is in their best interest. So you know, most of those aren't really coming to the market, guys. So for you, those of you that want context on like what's actually selling and what they're selling for, this is all the sales that are on the MLS for the last 6 months. 92 sales in 6 months. Okay. So you're averaging between 10 and 20 sales per month for multi-units in Waterloo region. That's pretty common for the last few years. There's 129 active multi-units on the market right now. That's everything from apartment complexes, apartment buildings, to rooming houses, to duplexes. Now, I wanted to share more of this data for the single family market, but also the multifamily market, because I think context of how rare the deals you're looking for is important for you investors and buyers and sellers out there actually trying to get a strategy and trying to put a realistic plan together. Duplexes are borderline not multifamily properties because the value technically it is, but the type of people owning and buying these, half of them are investors, half of them are owner occupiers. And
Yeah.
so they're multi-generational families. Like me, my first property, I converted a single family home to a duplex because it was just me and my then girlfriend at the time. We didn't need a whole house. We were both working like dogs. We don't need a big detached home. We don't care to spend our money on that. That type of thing is becoming more popular because homes are very expensive. But multi-generational families will be living in duplexes and triplexes, purpose-built or retrofitted. First-time home buyers will adopt those types of purchases as well to offset the high cost of single-family homes. They can use the rental income to offset their mortgage costs. So I'm critical of the duplex market and including it in broad conversations about multifamily real estate. Same with triplexes and fourplexes, but those are really popular properties in our market because Waterloo region was developed by European developers and
Yeah.
builders and really common for them to build purpose-built 3, 4, and 6 unit properties when they were developing single-family home neighborhoods. So those are really common types of properties in my market. Let's just go through the gauntlet. 61 of the 91 total sales were duplexes,
It's
and they
crazy.
range in price from 495 to 1.5 million. So I would prefer if you guys are looking for duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, let's have a more specific conversation. If you're looking at things that are 6 units plus, I think a lot of what we'll discuss is more representative for those types of properties, Adam, because there's just straight up, there's just more variance in the types of property or the types of owners, the types of operators, how they're bought and sold is much different for 4 units and under. So
Yeah.
take my comments for those properties with a grain of salt if you guys are watching the video. But the bulk of the multifamily market is 4 units and under,
Hmm.
like literally 80% of it. There's only, 15 sales for 6 units plus in the last 6 months. So let's call it
That's
two a month
crazy. Yeah.
are actually selling. What's even crazier though is the amount of activity we're seeing for 20 plus units is tense. Like considering how cool the residential market is, townhouse complexes, purpose built rental properties with 20 units or more are still getting a lot of attention, right? So for duplexes, you could spend 500K or you could spend 1.5 million. So you're 250K a door to 750K a door for duplexes. It's a huge range. For your triplexes, guys, you're closer to probably to 250 a door on average, but we've seen some go cheap, like close to 200K a door for a triplex is insane, right? I have one on the market right now for 225 a door. It is a bargain. If you guys are looking for lower price multis, there are some out there where just the cost per door is cheap. The Canadian government is going to be, funding building for call it 400K a door. You can go buy an existing one for half. Guys, I'm smelling value. Fourplex sales, only two of them. Only two fourplexes have sold in our market in the last 6 months. What is happening? Two of them, and they range between 220K a door and over 300K a door. 5 unit properties, those are rare. Those are typically fourplexes with a bonus unit in the basement. Typically, 101 sold for 150K a door. Absurd, absurd cheap. And others sold for 216 a door. Your 7 unit or your 6 to 9 units, you're typically going to be about 200 to 225K a door for those types of properties. Some have sold much cheaper because they were in quite rough condition. There's some condition issues with the one that sold really low. But that's part of the reason why it sold really cheap. But then you look at 10 plus unit properties. There was a on market property, 10 units or more, that sold for 135K a door. Cheap, cheap. You cannot build that for anywhere close to that value. So the cost per door, I think, is a quick and dirty for those of you out there that are comparing active markets on the deal here to other deals in Waterloo region, but also other locations in Southern Ontario. Cost per door and cap rates are like really good quick indicators for, hey, is this really interesting or not? Um, on the note of cap rates, point number three there. Generally speaking, if I'm looking for investors that are looking for under 6 units, cap rate doesn't hold as much value or as much weight as an initial indicator because your cap rates are probably going to be pretty low on those properties. Reason being, Adam, is most sixplexes are not new. And if they're not new, they're not getting market rents. And if they're not getting market rents and the asking price doesn't reflect their rents, the cap rate's going to be garbage. You're going to see a lot in the fours, right? Well, the value for those types of properties for an investor is one, if you've never owned a multifamily. Two, you could potentially house hack it. Three, it could just be a really good, boring long-term buy and hold, right? Or four, if you want to be more aggressive, but more rare, you could try and burn it. You could try and get in there, do cash for keys or cash for increases and renovate units. But typically, we're not seeing a ton of activity because a lot of the numbers for those properties, 6 units and under, aren't as attractive as properties that are 12 units and plus. I can get a better cap rate, a better cost per door for slightly more capital into the deal if I just jump up to a 10, 12, 15 unit property. And it kind of seems scary because, oh, you're in commercial lending now. That's a lot more units, a lot more tenants that are relying on me that I got to manage. But from a numbers perspective and an ROI perspective, cost per door, cap rate perspective, they are more attractive. So if you investors out there are like, Zach, I'm looking at these 3 unit deals. Adam, I'm looking at these fourplexes, these sixplexes. I'm not really loving the numbers that these are selling at. Have a conversation, give Adam a call, give me a call about these things in Waterloo region because like the difference in opportunity when you move up to slightly bigger multifamilies, especially purpose built, it can be very attractive, guys. We'll wrap up with two things. Actually, we'll do the last three here, Adam. We talked about selling vacant or tenanting. You investors out there, if you're thinking about selling a property or you think about acquiring a property and you see a unit's vacant, some people used to be concerned about vacancies. If you're selling a property and you're like, hey, Zach, I got a vacant unit. Should we sell it vacant? Should we not? Typically, you want to list it for sale and you want to list it for lease at the same time. Unless you want to keep it vacant for another reason, your best interest is you don't want to be carrying a vacancy for an extended period of time. Unless you're listing your property at this is definitely going to fucking sell price. I don't know if we can bleep that out or if we're going to keep it. We'll let Peter determine that. I'll let it fly every now and then, but unless you're willing to let it go at a really low price, guys, you're probably better off trying to get a tenant in there as well at the same time as selling it. And we typically list our properties for our clients for lease and for sale at the same time. We'll take care of the lease for our clients if we're listing a home or a multifamily. Um, then the recon. If people were watching the beginning of this video, going through the data for single family homes, when I'm encouraging you to go view a shitload of properties and offer on a lot of stuff, like same things apply to you investors, Adam. Get your metrics, learn what you want in terms of cost per door, in terms of cap rates, in terms of what your strategy for your target type of property is, whether it's boring, buy and hold, or burr, or flip, or whatever, and let the offers fly. You should be viewing as many as you can, as quickly as you can. Recon works. And this ties into my fourth point. And Adam harps on this too, but like I come from like boiler room sales training in terms of like cold calling people to try and sell stuff. Like that was how I started in sales and how I started in real estate. And that's not what I do now. But the reason I bring that up is people forget how powerful the phone is. People forget how powerful just taking a little bit more action is. Make the phone call, book your appointments, ask the specific questions, ask again, and go view stuff quickly. I cannot tell you how many times we found good deals because we've been prepared and you just are able to move quickly. And that's important, but that's even more important if you've done your homework, Adam, right? The whole homage, I could teach somebody to fish. I could give you a fish right now, or I could teach you to fish. If somebody calls me up and says, hey, Zach, I want a really good deal in Waterloo region. Okay, I got 1,000 questions for you, right? What's a good deal? A good deal for you is different than a good deal for me. What property type? What locations? What are you looking to do with it? How are you financing it? How quickly can you close? Right? Like, I think that doing your own homework with a industry professional or a location professional that knows the area, is an expert in the area, and taking a lot of action, that doesn't go out of style, and that always works in every market. So if people are kind of on the edge, oh, I don't think the deals are good enough now, or I think the market's still going to come down, you might be right, but I think you would be wise to start doing your homework now if you plan on doing business in the next year or two. I think it would be very wise to start doing a little bit of preliminary homework now. So I got a list of all the sales. If people want the list of the last 91 sales and the list of all the actively available properties and a list of all of our off-market properties, Adam, send me a direct email. I won't send out everything on the investor hot list. I don't want to spam all you guys that are already on the hot list that don't need that data. But if you are curious on what's actually selling, cost per door, cap rates actually are, and if there's any good deals on or off market, investor hot list, baby. And if you don't want the deals, if you don't want the data and you just want to golf, investor hot list, baby, because I have the bug. I am literally, as soon as we get off here, I'm trying to schedule a round in for next week. I got to get out before the snow flies. So for those of you that stuck around the video, Adam, I appreciate everybody coming in and checking it out. We've had some really good comments on the past videos about a month or two back. Really interesting to see some people's opinions, some concerns, and some words of encouragement for people liking the videos. That's always nice to see. A little pat on the back for me and you for doing a good job. But Waterloo Region Real Estate is in a peculiar and interesting place. So I'm watching it like a hawk, but I'm also excited. We're positioned to do well long term, but in a down part of the cycle, there's opportunity and there's some challenges. So I'm looking forward to working with our friends and our clients to figure it out. So appreciate you guys having me on this month, and I'm looking forward to coming back in November.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Thank you so much for the deep insights on the Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge markets there. I think it's really important for people to see those different numbers stacked up against each other because, you say KWC or you say the Tri-Cities, and it's easy to get lost in the numbers when you just go on realtor.ca. So really appreciate that, guys. If you're not already on the investor hot list, Zach actually is providing crazy value there. So please jump over there. And maybe we'll see you guys in Las Vegas for some golfing because we do have some exotic memberships here and some really, really crazy courses that we could probably get you guys on. And worst case Ontario, we could go to Top Golf and work on all your swings. So
I need to
yeah,
work on the
Zach,
drive so bad, and I bet you I could hit over 100 at every course in Las Vegas, baby. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Thanks again, Adam. Really
let's
appreciate it.
let's go, man. Well, we are hobnobbing with some pros around here, so you better work that swing up before you come. And
I'm
we'll
so
see you
bad.
back here next month. And I'm sure we're going to get into some really cool property tours as well in the future with Zach. I know he's got a lot going on, and I'm really excited to show you guys real physical walkthroughs because it's one thing to talk about it, but these guys on here are doing it. So let's make sure we get you guys through there. We'll see you back here soon. Cheers, Zach.